Speaking of triple threats, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley balled out yesterday, but it was Jarrett Allen that played the best.
Yeah, but it was against. I mean, it was a nice win, but it was against Houston. 108-91 the final. What's interesting now is we pretty much rubber stamped them in as the 4.
Yeah.
And they likely will be. But, when you glance at the standings, they're only a game behind Philly for the 3. They're 2 games out because they're 3 games difference in the loss column. But they're 2 behind Philly with 6 to go.
Don't they have to have a better record? Because I think Philly's got the season.
Philly does have the tiebreaker. So they essentially might as well look at it as they're 3 down with 6 to play. Extreme long shot, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, they definitely got to win out.
They have to win out for sure and hope that Philly somehow can lose 3 of these. I think they have more games left.
Philly got a lot of games left low key.
Yeah, I think they have more.
And they have a very difficult schedule.
They do. I looked at it. Look at the NCAA tournament. Anything can happen. Who knows? We'll see. But here's the question we have to start our conversation: as the Cavs know they're in the playoffs now, which, by the way, this is the first time in a quarter century that the Cavaliers have made the playoffs without LeBron James on the roster. That's an accomplishment.
I've seen a few people tweeting like, "Who cares about that stat?"
I care.
Why would you get angry about? I mean, as someone who gets angry about stupid stuff sometimes, I guess I can appreciate.
I'll tell you why we should care. If you look at the Cavs, I slice their history into 2 different categories: with LeBron and without LeBron.
Because the franchise has basically been useless without LeBron.
It has been.
They've barely won any.
They've never made a semifinal without LeBron.
What do they? I think without LeBron, they have. I want to say 3 or 4 playoff series wins ever.
Yeah,
franchise,
that's what
something
I'm saying.
like that. Very few.
It is a big deal, and particularly because it's so close to him leaving. They've resurrected themselves by rebuilding the smart way with a lot of really good pieces. So it is significant.
It is. I agree.
A quarter century is a long time.
Here's why people don't like it. It's like saying, hey, G. Bush, man, I see you doing good now. You've been grinding for a long time. And somebody comes up to me and say, I saw you on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, man. That's really great, man. This is the first promotion you've had since you haven't been with your ex-wife. That's beautiful.
Ooh.
You're like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're like, huh? Whoa.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'd have to like, what are you talking about here? I mean, like, is that backhanded or something? Because you're mentioning somebody who willfully left you. Right? But their accomplishment is tied to them.
But I don't think in a way that's an insult to you. Saying this is their first playoff series without LeBron is not an insult to the current Cavs team. No. It might be an insult to Dan Gilbert or whatever,
and you know what?
But it's not to the current Cavs team.
When I say it, too, I say it as an endorsement, not an indictment.
Yes,
it's an endorsement.
Exactly.
Like, I am so pleased with what this front office has done and how they've been able to maneuver to get to this point. Because let's face it, when LeBron left the first time, there was a whole lot of nothing, and then Kyrie came, and he was a piece that helped get LeBron back.
Right.
So that was even tied to LeBron. They didn't, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, when I say it, I don't say it in a mean-spirited way.
Yeah.
I say it's a hell of an accomplishment. Hell of an accomplishment.
I think for guys like Darius Garland or Mobley who are drafted here, I think that it does mean a little bit of an accomplishment. But when you talk about guys like maybe Jarrett Allen or Donovan Mitchell, they're like,
they don't see it that way.
They don't see it that way.
Yeah. But I still look at this as a homegrown team in that they've done it the smart way, through the draft, through trades, through free agency, and I think they've done a great job. Now, here's the question for us. 6 games to go. Couple of things at stake. None of it really means much. They're almost certain to be the 4. Almost certain.
Right.
They could have a winning record on the road. Whatever mental bonus that would be going into the playoffs, you can do the math yourself. They have to win out to finish 21-20 on the road.
3 games, 1 with Atlanta, 2 with Orlando.
All winnable.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando stinks.
How should they approach these last 6 games?
Listen, I mean, I think they should play hard and within reason.
Right.
You don't want to go like over the top with
Don't
minutes.
play it like a playoff game.
Yeah, if a guy's banged up, you don't. But within reason, I think you want to keep winning. I mean, for this team, it feels like that. I'm not a big momentum guy in general, but I do feel like this team. I think you want to stay hot going into the playoffs, and by some chance, if you can get to the 3 seed. Well, I think that would be good because, although I guess it might not be good because you could end up playing the Heat instead of the Knicks. If you end up, that would kind of be a negative.
Yeah, you could.
So maybe I don't want to be the 3 seed. But if you think about it, like in theory, in the next round, I think they would have. I I know maybe this sounds crazy because everybody thinks they're going to win the NBA title, but I actually think they'd have a better chance of beating Boston in the second round than they would Milwaukee. And so I'd rather play ball. Obviously it's not likely the Cavs beat either of those teams.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose,
They are 3-1 against Boston.
Yeah, I mean, I just think because the Cavs have struggled with the Joel Embiids and the team that has the big guy who's the star.
Yeah.
And the Celtics don't have that. So
They have a bunch of them, but they're not as big as Giannis.
Yeah, they're not these big, huge, massive guys.
Yeah,
so.
you're right. How do you see it?
I mean, I would go out and I'm not really a big momentum team like Bull said when you talk about momentum for veteran teams. But when it comes to teams like young guys, listen, young guys are too naive, like they're dumb, they don't understand they ain't supposed to be winning. Like somebody can get hot. Like when you got guys with that momentum, and we've all played on teams that that don't get along, that don't have any chemistry and have no momentum, and you come to practice, you're like, bro, I don't even want to be here right now. You just don't want to be there because it's like you don't have that feeling. But when you get young guys and you start to believe you can do anything, you start to feel like I'm hot. You start to feel like we got an opportunity. If you go into the playoffs with a really great winning streak and you feel like your stroke is down, you feel like you guys are hitting all the rotations, I think you could be a team that can be scary because then you go into the playoffs focused. You go into the playoffs with that energy level. If you're an older team, you kind of figure like, okay, I could turn it on and off. Young teams don't even know what on and off is.
Right.
They're just kind of just playing.
And by the way, guys, we talked about, so if the Cavs win out, they'd have 54 wins.
Yeah.
Not unreasonable because the best team they're playing the rest of the season is the Knicks, and that game's in Cleveland. So it's not unreasonable to think, especially the way they're playing right now and who they're playing.
That'd be a big game if for no other reason to set a tone for the playoffs.
Sure.
Yep.
So let's say they win out in theory.
Possible.
To get the 3 seed, Philly would have to go 4-4 or worse if the Cavs win out. Philly's last 8 games: at Denver, Dallas at home, Toronto at home,
Wow.
at Milwaukee, Boston at home,
Jeez.
Miami at home, at Atlanta, at Brooklyn. They have a much tougher schedule
Okay,
than
so
the Cavs.
7 of the 8 are playoff teams.
Right. So it's possible they could go 4-4. So I think if the Cavs win out, there's a chance they end up the 3s. Now, winning out is not easy, even though you're not playing very good teams. It's still hard to win.
If that happens, I hope Miami catches the Knicks for the 4.
Right.
You
or Brooklyn stays ahead of Miami for the 6. You mean for the 5?
Yeah, that's for the 5 I meant.
Right.
I meant for the 5.
Or
Brooklyn. Yes,
Brooklyn stays ahead of Atlanta or Miami for the 6.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think they should play these games to win them, but I right in line with you. I do think that you want to roll into the playoffs on a hot streak.
Right.
You don't want to go in 2-4. You just don't want to do that because that the last taste in your mouth is what you go into the playoffs with.
Yeah.
But if it's close where someone's just fatigued,
Yeah, you don't mess with
they
that.
don't have it that night.
Right.
They're a little dinged. Get them out. Take the L if you need to take the L and settle into the 4 because in all likelihood that is where they'll be. Now, if 3 games into that, Philly's 1-4, and now we win out, we get the 3, then go for it.
Yeah, sure.
Then go for it. Why not?
And some of these games you'd think the Cavs could blow these teams out. So maybe the best players are only playing 25, 28 minutes
You're right.
anyway.
So you have the best of
Build
both
these
worlds.
big leads and let them sit the fourth quarter.
Win and rest.
Right, and I agree with what G said. Like, if I'm Boston, I'm Milwaukee, like, I don't care. If I lose a few games at the end of the year, who cares?
Right.
I know how to switch do the light switch when the playoffs start.
Yeah.
But the Cavs don't.
They don't even truly know that I mean, guys like Donovan Mitchell, guys that have played in the playoffs do.
Yeah.
But most of this roster doesn't even know what that next year looks like.
No.
And they're going to find out real quick.
Right.
So
Yes.
I think it would be smart. Rest your guys if you can. And your scenario is beautiful. If you can get big leads on these teams like they did last night and just sort of coast to the finish line, I think that's a perfect roadmap to play these last 6 games.
Especially for maybe you say, well, this game, Darius Garland's the first guy out for the day.
Yeah.
And this game, Donovan Mitchell, we're getting him out as soon as we possibly can.
Right, yeah.
And getting everybody as much rest as possible while still keeping the foot on the gas to play well down the stretch.
Yeah.
They did that last night, by the way.
I thought they did
Exactly.
that. I thought they
Yeah.
managed last night the way they should the rest of the season.
Akuro
Absolutely.
went knee to knee with somebody real quick. in
Yes.
the first quarter, came out and he didn't come back on the bench in the second half.
And that's fine.
He was talking.
What did he play, like 9 minutes?
Yeah, very, very not a lot of minutes. I went to the game yesterday with my buddy Matt, who had awesome tickets, so we were pretty close to the bench.
Yeah, I saw a picture
You
of
could
that.
see him and Mitchell talking, and he was like, I'm fine. And they were just like, nope, we're going to take an extra precaution. So
Be
nothing
smart.
to worry about with him not coming back out. But shout out to Matt for those tickets, by the way. Very, very good season.
McNuggets is
High rolling.
slowly but surely turning himself into a mover and shaker.
Yeah, he's
down
a high
there at,
roller.
I didn't
the
meet
field house.
No joke. I wore the UCSS shirt because I knew these were good seats yesterday.
Yeah.
UCSS was on TV a ton. From where we were sitting, you could see us when they showed like the baseline angles.
Nice.
And I had like 15 people throughout the concourse be like, "Yo, I love the show. Watch it all the time." It's
free advertising, man.
Shout out to everyone who supports the show. I had a beer vendor too be like, "You're on with Jay Crawford and Adam the Bull."
And I hope you said NG Bush.
Well, I said NG Bush and Brad and Tyvis and Earl and everyone else.
He ripped
that
them
comes
all
on.
off. Attaboy.
off, so.
Attaboy. Speaking of Brad Sellers, I don't. It's
Shout out
not
to-
built into the show. I know we're going to talk about the men's tournament in a little bit, but his daughter is just a win away. Now, this is the toughest game they'll play all year, but you often hear Brad talk about Cheyenne. He's very proud of all of his children. Cheyenne's having a terrific year. Look at this graphic that ESPN used showing how she completely locked down whoever she was
They gave him
guarding in the
0
Notre
points.
Dame game. No points. That's incredible. And she filled up the box score. She did everything in that game.
Yeah.
Now they play South Carolina tonight.
Best team in the country.
I mean, you never would say that if you win this, you're destined to win it all. But South Carolina is the horse in the field.
This is how good South Carolina is without knowing much about women's basketball. That we know Maryland's one of the best teams in the country.
They are.
They're a top 8 team.
Sure.
And they're a 14-point underdog.
It's stunning.
That's crazy.
And they just blew out a third seed Notre Dame. Blew them out.
Yeah.
And they're a 14-point dog because South
Dawn
Carolina.
Staley has the new UConn, basically.
or Tennessee before that.
Or
you know?
Tennessee before that.
I was watching them. Me and my dad was watching one of their games, and I forget who they were playing. It was the SEC. It was Tennessee. And they gave them the business bad. They was down. Tennessee was out of here, like early. Like it was like they were down 30.
Yeah, that's what they do to teams. She's a lot like Gino. There was a time when Gino didn't want to beat you. He wanted to beat you by 60. And Dawn is not afraid to do that. I think, I'm pulling big time for Maryland. I would love to see Cheyenne and Brad enjoy this ride to the Final Four. If it doesn't work out, I think we're looking at a collision course between South Carolina and Iowa. That Clark girl for Iowa.
Oh, my God.
Holy cow. If you haven't seen her play, do yourself a favor and watch their next game.
40-point triple-double.
Only one in the history of the tournament, men's or
Amazing.
women's.
Crazy.
She
seen her
is
play,
a
So good.
baller, man. And she's got the heart of a lion too. She wants to destroy her opponent every time out.
By the way,
see that you can't see me?
Yeah.
that was nice.
Real quick before we switch to Lamar, one last thing on the Cavs. It's been 25 years since they've gone to the playoffs without LeBron. It's been 30 years. It was 30 years ago that the Cavs last won 50 games without LeBron.
Wow.
And it was 30, also that same year, 92-93, that they last won a playoff series without LeBron.
I think
They won one series that
I
year.
think they beat the Celtics. I think they beat the
gonna check
Celtics.
it out.
Wasn't that
See
the
if you're
Price
right.
Doherty
It was
hot rod Cavs?
Larry Bird didn't play.
92.
His back was hurting him too much. He didn't. play well.
I think you're right. I think it was the Celtics because I remember they kept taking the shots of
Yeah,
Larry
and he said
on the. He would lay down on the
Yep.
baseline.
And they were like, he's pretty much done.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
much
he pretty
finished.
much was.